barren as this tree, the Lowveld is still, of course, dense and lush and extremely green. It's still summer here, and it's a very nice and warm afternoon. We're not just going to be coming to you live from Juma. There are many other wonderful locations in store. So hop on, everyone, get ready, because it's that time of day for your live bumble through the bush. Apologies about that. Don't quite know what happened in the world of technology, but you are back here with us, at least in Juma Private Game Reserve. It's a glorious afternoon. My name is Lauren. I do have Morgan on camera. We're going to get ready to bumble, and what a fantastic morning. Wendy has been to the hospital. Let's hope we have a smooth drive. Please cross your fingers and toes for me that Wendy does not break down. And we are just going to bumble at this side. Check the hyena, Zane. Try as much as I can to see if I can catch it active. That's what I really want. And I'm sure all the other guides will be taking you on their own wonderful bumbles. But you must talk to us. That's the deal, everyone. You're only allowed on the back if you talk to us. You can send in your questions and comments many different ways depending on what platform you're using. You can use hashtag WildEarth on Twitter. You can use @FC in the YouTube chat. You can also head over to the WildEarth website, go to the live Safari page, register, and then submit your questions there. Kids, we want to hear from you the most. You're better than the adults. Please do email us. And the email address is kidssquestions@wildearth.tv. And I very much look forward to hearing from you all. And of course, I'm sure many of you have caught up on the news of Miss Tlalamba. It's been a long time. It's been a long time of the speculation and the possibility and the unsurety and the what ifs. And of course, last night I knew she was lactating, and this morning Steve found one little cup. It was wonderful news, such wonderful news. It makes it an even more glorious day, shall we say. Karula's lineage continues, I guess. It was from Karula to Tandy to Tlalamba, and now the little one. Very exciting. But for me this afternoon, I will just be bumbling. See what we can find. We are going to head to day number 3 now. I really don't expect it to be active, but I'm a bit at loss with the hyenas, to be honest with you all. We saw Ribbon, Comet, and another individual at Tlalamba's kill last night. So at least we know where they are. I just don't know where everybody else is. But no need to worry. I think just because the cubs are getting older and we've gone into a different season, that is why we're not seeing them so often. So it's very hot by now, but sometimes if they can find a patch of shade, you may find the day in active. I'm always hopeful. Maybe not this time. Drew McLean, can I make an appointment with you, please, for sunset? Pretty please. Is that a log or a spotty body? I think it's a log. A spotted log. How about that? Okay, that was just on the off chance. But let us begin our real bumble. Okay, we're going to head to Treehouse Dam, one of my favourites, and hope for some elephants. But let's take a look at the weather across all our locations.
Good afternoon, welcome to Buffelshoek, welcome to Tambuti Dam, where we heard some buffaloes making some noises a little while ago, so we're going to see if we can follow up and find where they might be. So we're checking some water points, and somewhere between here and we were that side. Hello everybody, my name is Steve, joined by Davy on camera, and as always, very excited to have you with us in the scorching hot sun. It is a very warm afternoon today. But we are still overwhelmed by this morning. Those of you who might have missed this morning's show, we spent it with Kalamba and the beautiful princess. Kalamba led us all the way to a secret place. And we were introduced to a very small little cub, only one, probably around about a month old. By the activity, the movement, the size, very hard to say. But that area is going to be completely off limits until further notice. So if you didn't get to see it and you're dying to, go back and catch up on the last hour's drive from this morning. Anyway, the Stickney is taking it really easy in the sunshine, and we're going to move on from him because it's hot. Well, no, we're not. We're going to stay with him for a moment longer. He's a splendid little water Stickney, enjoying his time in the sunshine. Always important to keep the chest well groomed, well oiled. Lovely reflection there in the water, and on the right hand side of him by a few meters, a little bit more and a little bit more, we shall see a blacksmith lapwing. So maybe we'll do a little bit of birding this afternoon. Nice and peaceful by the water. There's a little bit of a breeze that's just started, which is wonderful. After a hot day like this, you can expect here we go, you can actually see it in the distance there. A little bit of cloud starting to form. The wind is blowing in the direction of that cloud. So we've had a couple of warm days, so it's going to be forming a front. So you can probably expect the weather to change. KB, well, they actually do have very thick knees. Their leg goes like this, and then their knee is this bulbous. It is a very thick knee. They used to be called dekops, which basically means thick head. But they've changed it to thick knees. Don't know why they were called dekops. A lot of people still call them dekops, Afrikaans name. But they do actually have very thick knees, considering. Bloated knees. What the purpose of those bloated knees is, I'm sorry, I can't tell you. Okay, so some birding this afternoon, some water point checking, and a follow-up on this herd of buffalo. we'll take it from there. How's that sound, Abisito? Sounds good. Okay, well, we, as always, are not the only ones out and about. Dean is out in Phinda, and he'd like to say good day.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to and beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. Just like Steve at Djuma, we also find ourselves at a dam doing some birding. And myself and Odie, just as he zooms out there, you can see he's zoomed in on a Hammerkorp's nest there. And it's actually just got in there. Now, yeah, like I said, just arrived there, and that to its left there, that big mess of twigs and branches, that's actually its nest. My name is Dean, and this afternoon we've got Odie behind the camera. And like I mentioned a little bit earlier, we also find ourselves at a watering hole here doing some birding, and we were lucky enough. As we drove up, I mentioned to Odie now that there's actually a Hammerkorp's nest over there, and I was hoping the Hammerkorp would appear, and it didn't as we drove up, but as we started the show, it just flew in there. So perfect timing. So just the one Hammerkorp for now. There is a breeding pair that's actually building that nest. They tend to be a little bit more active at dusk and dawn. So probably around about now, you might find a little Hammerkorp will take off and actually fly over to our western side of here and get a couple of branches and twigs. It can take somewhere from a couple of weeks to even a couple of months to complete this nest. It's quite a big feat for a relatively small bird. Generally, it'll only be the two of them that will, a breeding pair that would build it, but can also be built communally. And a bit difficult to tell from this angle, but the entrance is actually to the side of where the Hammerkorp is, underneath. Just where, right there, it's just underneath there. Hopefully it'll actually give us a little show and go inside there. Lovely warm day today, only a couple of clouds about. A little bit of a breeze here. You can just see in the distance a wisp of a cloud over there. So I'll actually show you a picture of the Hammerkorp itself quickly. It is TP, quite an interesting question. You're asking if Hammerkorps attack humans. As far as I understand, they don't. They're actually quite quick to take flight. If you were to go on foot and walk up to it, they would fly away. So as far as I understand, no, they wouldn't attack humans at all. Maybe, I suppose, if you were to get closer to the nest, it might probably try and distract you or pull you away from the nest. But no, not known to be an aggressive bird necessarily. So here is, we're using the Roberts bird book here, and here's the Hammerkorp right over here on the bottom end of the page. You can see that characteristic sort of long bill and a bit of a back piece just behind the nest. You can actually see how that actually flares up there, called its crest. It raises its crest over there on a type of display, or like an alarm display. Really quite a cool bird. just on the other side of the watering hole there, amongst those dead lying trees there. A little bit on the far side, but some white-breasted cormorants, also with their nest there. Every now and then you might see one fly across the water or over us. There you go. Yeah, you can just see a couple of them there. There you can see all the cormorants, white-breasted cormorants on top of the ranches there. Very much like the Hamerkop, also tend to be a little bit more active during dusk and dawn. But I think for now, we might make our way along the dam wall and see what else is out there. But for now, you guys are going to head over to Lauren, who's managed to find herself a large animal herself.
I've been sitting at Treehouse Dam very patiently, and this is why I came to Treehouse Dam. I can see two, but I know I can hear there's more elephants around. I just can't really see them. And I'm hoping we get some splish splashing or some drinking. Look at that, smelling the water. We've walked straight into the shade. Did you see that? Is one not going to drink? I don't think so. Elephants do acquire a small amount of water from the vegetation, especially the vegetation around water bodies. Sarah, you're saying what a cutie. I know, these are two. There's another one, you won't be able to see it, but they're quite relatively small-ish, teenage years. So I'm standing ground here in the sun, hoping that the rest of the herd comes and everybody goes down for a drink. It is so magical when you're sitting at a water body with a huge herd of elephants and everybody's drinking. Okay, I'm going to sit tight and hope the rest of the herd comes, and I believe Steve has a spotted cat for you all.
Well, everybody, we're having some amazing luck today. I suppose because this morning we found Plalamba introduced us to her little cub. That's just as well we've come up to Buvasuk and we found Tingana, who is now a proud grandfather. Tingy, you are the grandfather of a little cub. How blessed is that? Wonder if he knows. Anyway, we were just stopping to listen for some buffalo as we got up to the top of this road. He was just there. We know Tingana likes to follow buffalo. He likes to stalk them and chase them and roll in their dung, eat their dung. So we haven't heard the buffalo again since. So it's possible because that wind coming from the south actually might have taken the buffalo audio from Voetel Dam side towards us. I don't know if there's any buffalo on the dam cam. It might even be closer to Gallagher Camp, but we didn't see any tracks on the way here. We will get another view for you shortly, everybody, once we're repositioned, but it's very warm and there's no shade on the other side there at the moment. enthusiastically, Dawn. We have no idea if he's not the father as well. I know that makes a lot of you twist and turn. Well, it's not impossible. It's not impossible at all. So one of the concerns we had for some time was his potential interest in Tlalamba. But she's been moving through quite a vast area, so it's very hard to know who she's encountered. No one saw her mating, hasn't been seen in quite some time. So the only way we'd be able to tell is to get a sample of the little one's dung or poo sent off for some lab results. Well, sounds like Pridelands is out and about, and they'd like to wish you a good afternoon.
Good afternoon and welcome to Wild Earth. We are live from Eco Training Pridelands, and at the moment we are at Ndlovu Dam. So for the majority of this morning we spent our time tracking our hippo and eventually determined that his general direction was at Ndlovu Dam. So this is our aim for this afternoon, to see if we can locate on him, and then from there on we will be seeing what else we can find. And meanwhile, I just would like to point out this large nest structure that we can see over here on this dead leadwood stump, which is in the middle of a dam. This belongs to a bird that's known as a red-billed buffalo weaver. It's a predominantly all-black bird with some white in the feathers and red legs and a red bill. So these guys will make these little stick-shaped nests out of thorny vegetation, and quite often what we find is that these nests are located on the north and northwestern side of trees, which enables us to orientate and navigate while we are in wilderness areas. However, when these nests are structured over water holes, they are randomly placed in any position, as if the major wind direction and direction of where the rain comes from doesn't have a major impact on it. We're going to continue our walk from here and see if we can locate our hippo.
Nestled on the banks of one of the largest lakes in the Sabi Sands lies an award-winning game lodge called Chitwa Chitwa. Many of you will have been on safari here virtually with Wild Earth, but now we are offering you the chance to see it for yourself in person. Sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer before the end of April, and you and a friend could win 3 nights to this luxury lodge. In addition to the unforgettable safaris, you can unwind on the deck, relax in the pool, and even savor the various bush dining experiences. Chitwa's holistic approach to hospitality, with specific emphasis on conservation, will leave you with the very best memories of the African wild. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Graham, I'm just going to see, there's a very good place that I want to see if we can get good signal from there. That's where I'd like to.
Welcome to Dawn in the African bush.
How cool is this? Can you believe it?
Those cubs are now only 10 feet from us. Unbelievable.
Elephants chasing wild dogs chasing elephants. Pandemonium!
Watching how Wild Earth has grown since 2007 has been truly remarkable. On the 27th of April this year, Wild Earth will be turning 14, and we would love to hear from you. Please send us your own special birthday message, which we can share with the rest of the Wild Earth family. Maybe you can tell us why you started watching Wild Earth, what Wild Earth means to you, or you could just send us a very happy birthday. Don't forget, when you want to film yourself, to hold your phone sideways to get the best angle. When you are ready, you can email your videos through to birthday@wildearth.tv.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed. The rest of the herd did not join. We had the two youngsters come right towards the car. Hello. Why are you choosing to go that way? Both of them did not drink. Maybe we're going to have a drink now. Oh, we smell water. There we go, Morgan. Jackson, me too. I would love an elephant pool party. We had the most beautiful sighting this morning. And I would love another elephant sighting around the water body. We are going to head west. We're going to head over to Simbambili. I have a funny feeling we're going to get lucky over there. But let's just watch this elephant drink. I didn't think they could resist the delicious water of Treehouse Dam. Did you get that name, Morgan? No, we both didn't get that, and my apologies. But you're asking how big does an elephant get up to? On average, shoulder height. A bull is about 3 meters, so that's 9 feet, give or take. And a cow normally comes in at about 2.5 meters shoulder height. That's normally how you measure a mammal's height, and that's about 7.5 feet, or thereabouts. But there's actually a bull from Angola that's now in a museum in Washington that measures well over 4 meters shoulder height, well above that, and that's of course 12 feet. And bulls will weigh up to about 6 tons, and cows will weigh up to about 4 tons. So there's definitely a difference, but either way, they both are pretty large. That was so lovely, wasn't it? So peaceful. Made me thirsty. I definitely will need to have a drink after this. Okay, I'm going to bumble west. Let's see if we get lucky. But for now, we're going to send you across to Steve and to Ghana.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, it's wonderful. Just sitting here in the shade with the Duke. The Duke, who is now officially a grandfather. He's breathing quite heavily, probably due to the temperature. He might also have eaten. We didn't get a proper look at his tummy yet. Often a full belly causes leopards to breathe like that. But his head is up, which is a promising sign. These windy conditions often get the predators excited and moving. So, Kib, it's really hard to say because leopards here in the Sabi Sands have far smaller territories than in the Tswalu Kalahari, for example. It's all based on food resource. And that includes water and prey availability. Now, up in the northern Sabi Sands here, which is quite a big area, got Hlangula, Quarantine, and Mawati taking up the majority of the territory space that we know. It's a pretty decent area, split between them, and pretty much 3 or so females per territory. But in the Tswalu Kalahari, you have one leopard would probably encompass that area on his own, maybe even a bit bigger. So it's all about resource. The same with lions and hyena. The territory size will reflect the resource availability. Here in the more temperate savannas, there's more water, there's more rainfall, there's more varied habitat, and so you get more species on the menu. So the territories are far smaller. But without knowing more, we all, well, I anyway, and a couple others have suggested that Tingana has potentially lost his territorial sort of ability at the moment, or his need. He's just bouncing between here and there. He's not really showing an interest in covering a territory. And there we go. He's daughter. His previous daughter has just had a cub, so his lineage is carrying on. His son is down south, Hosana, smashing his way into the hearts of the southern properties in Sabi Sands. Okay, well, and beyond Pinda, a very different environment to ours as well. Let's go over to them.
Welcome back, everyone, to And Beyond Pinda Private Game Reserve. And we've just come down to our open floodplain area. And we're lucky enough to find this white rhino here. To the left, you can see some cattle. Oh, look in the background there. A couple of impala rams starting to challenge each other. These two might have a go. You can actually, how nice is that? You can just see their coat shining in the sun. Looks like it's the three of them now. I think there was four earlier. So it's quite an interesting time of year for impala rams now. They're going into their rutting season. And which is actually brought on by a shorter day, and then their testosterone starts to spike, and the males will then, the dominant males will start challenging each other, and you start to see these little battles a little bit more often. Looks like that rhino's now pushed up, actually pushing against that tree over there. To the left of the rhino, the western cattle egret over there. Oh, startled another one. You'll notice how those egrets, there's a couple there, are sticking quite close to that rhino. You can imagine as that rhino moves through the grass there, kicks up a lot of insects, and they'll swoop in and grab those. But have a look at that view. We've got the Munyawana River that's, with the last couple of weeks, we've had quite a bit of rain, and it's filled up nicely. It's such a beautiful view. Oh, a couple more rhinos there. See the one there. A few more impala. There's actually two rhinos there. Again, two white rhinos. Just notice how green the grass is after the rains here, and more than enough food about for everyone. Kids, you're asking, could or would the rhinos kill the impalas? They wouldn't. And there wouldn't be a need for them to kill the impalas at all. So they're quite happy being around each other. So no, there wouldn't be any conflict between the two of them. Maybe the closest it would get is a rhino might just shrug its head or sort of just shift impala out the way if they are getting too close. But no, there's no conflict between the two of them at all. Oh, beautiful. Look at those cattle egrets flying across there. Stunning. Very much like the rhinos, they would also stick close to wildebeest and other herbivores for very much the same reason. Just follow them, waiting for insects to be kicked up. Oh, there we go. Oh, that is stunning. How's that? There's three western cattle egrets riding on the back of that rhino to the right. And you can also see the rhino on the left, how shiny it is, right up on the side there. So I think just before we got there, would have gone for a little bit of a mud wallow. It's been quite a warm day, so that mud obviously serves two functions. One, obviously cooling it down, acting almost as if it was a bit of a sunblock, but also as that mud dries, they would rub up against a tree or an old stump, and it acts like an exfoliator and would rub off any ticks or parasites on the skin, especially in those hard to reach areas. Just gauging on the size of those two rhinos, it looks like a cow and her calf. "100%. Is he saying, so happy to see the rhino?" Yeah, you are 100% right in saying that. It's always a treat seeing rhino. And you're very fortunate in Phinda to see them the way we do, especially in, like I mentioned earlier, such a beautiful area like this open floodplain area, such a beautiful setting. And to see not only one, but at least three. I do think in the thicket there's a couple more. Really such a treat to see these beautiful animals. There's also a couple straight in front there. You'll see that tree there, where it looks almost as if the bark is glowing. That's a fever tree. They tend to stick in areas along drainage lines and along river banks. One of my favorite trees. Always looks like it's glowing. Beautiful. Have a look at that, the trunk there, especially with the sun shining on the side there. So I think for now, myself and Owen might do a little bit more exploring in this beautiful area. We're going to send you over to Lauren, who has something a little bit smaller than these rhino.
I'm not sure I would say small. This princess is definitely not small, I can assure you. She's gorgeous. She's definitely on the large side. If I was brave enough, I would maybe stand next to her and put my hand up. No, I'm only joking. They're rather skittish, believe it or not. They're completely harmless to humans. They can bite, but only if they were really provoked, i.e. we're trying to catch one. And it's a harmless bite. I mean, it might be a bit of an ouchie, but you're not going to be in any sorts of trouble from neurotoxic venom or cytotoxic venom or hemotoxic venom. It will just be a bite. Otherwise, they're really not aggressive and they're pretty harmless. Unless you're a male, of course. If you're a male orb web spider, then you're in big trouble. You will live your life in fear. Oh, there's another one. Well done. Oh my goodness. Okay. I feel like there's a bit of a party going on here. There's another one, but I think she's on a different web. There's actually two webs here. It may be a little bit tricky to see. And I wonder if those two are the males. It's said to be between 5 to 6 times difference in size. So she is 5 to 6 times bigger than him. Wowza. I'm not actually sure if that's the males. It's very tricky to see, but it could be. So they better watch out. A lot of male spiders are doomed. Many die after mating, and many risk their life to mate. It's really not easy being a male spider. There's lots of evolutionary techniques that have evolved for survival, but at the end of the day, you've got to keep her happy. And many of them do that by delivering food parcels. And I think that's a genius idea. When a lady's not happy, give her some food. And she'll become so occupied with eating that she forgets about him. And he quickly mates with her to ensure fertilization of the eggs and then scuttles away. It's actually genius. And there's also the Tadaran spider, let's not forget, who completely twists off their own pedipalps, which is a spider genitalia, to plug her, to make sure no other male can mate with her, to save his sperm, his genetics, his DNA for his bloodline. He can secure his future. And it's the ultimate self-sacrifice, really. He will die after that. So although many people don't like spiders, I don't really think they have it easy. There's another species, there's another type of Tadaran. Hold on, I'm going to pull this name out of my brain. I think it's Tadaran sisyphoides. If I'm wrong, I apologize. That's what my brain is telling me. But they actually use their entire body, and as soon as copulation has begun, the small male will actually obviously insert his pedipalp, and he will eventually stiffen and die during copulation. He will die and completely sacrifice his entire body during the act. But apparently, she actually does not cannibalize him. She actually walks around with her lover for a long time, attached to herself. And only hours later, she removes his corpse. Sorry, Elton, I totally didn't catch that name. Did you get it, Morgan? Matthew, you're asking about the colour. The golden colour, I guess, or the yellow colour. They are, at the end of the day, golden orb-web spiders, and that's how they get their name. And they produce the colour themselves, and what's really fascinating is that they're able to change the hue. So depending on where they hang their web, be it in dense vegetation, or maybe in an open area, or maybe above a water body, they're going to change the hue like you can do in Photoshop of the web. So sometimes you see them really, really yellow, and sometimes they're really not that yellow. And it's not really known why they are sort of golden. There's quite a few theories, and one of the theories is to make it extremely visible. It's very, very visible, and therefore maybe larger birds will not fly into it. They don't want to capture a bird, they want insects. So if a bird flies through this web, it's going to destroy all the hard work, all that energy that the individual put into making that web. So it glistens in the sun, and it just makes it really, really obvious. So that's sort of one of the theories as to why the golden orb web spider's web is so yellow. And you can actually see it. If you ever drive through a web by accident, or an old web, you can actually pick it off your car, and it's really bright buttercup yellow. It's not just a sort of optical illusion. And you see, she's got all her food parcels there. You see, she's wrapped them up, and she's saving them for when she's hungry. David, you're saying the web is amazing. It's unbelievable. I don't know if we're going to be able to show you this, but Morgan, if you look, it actually is attached to that branch of this combretum, of this bush willow. So if you just go up directly from where she is, it's very difficult to follow. Up, up, up. You'll see the branch. Nope. Go to the right. There we go. This big branch on the top right there, that's actually where the web starts. And if Morgan just takes you down, you'll see that it goes all the way down. She hangs in the middle, very elegantly so. See, there's the queen, and then if Morgan goes down to the bottom, it's actually attached to the ground. So I would say that is about 3 meters, if not more, possibly even 4 in height. And that's huge. That's taller than I am. Sort of very large, amazing webs. Golden orb webs are just the best. So we're going to keep bumbling west, and we're going to send you guys back across to the Duke of Juma.
With the Duke, indeed, here he is. So I know there's still a fair bit of research going on leopards. There's a lot of conservation work with Pantheria and other organisations, and a friend of mine did a PhD on leopards years ago. Density. It's difficult because of the different areas, you know. I mean, for example, in Tsavo, which is in Kenya, home ranges of 10 leopards. The radio tract over 3 years had a variation of 9 to 63 kilometres squared. It's a huge difference, you know. They only generally use half of their range at a time, and there's huge overlap. They reckon even as much as 70% overlap. And with 2 males they recorded up there, the core area of the territory was only 0.8 kilometres apart. So that's up in Kenya. Down in the Kruger, they haven't got any estimates of territories, but of home ranges of several females estimated between 10 and 25 square kilometres, and several females within a male's range. I know it's about average 3 females per male's range, but with lots of overlapping. And in certain areas, this is probably the Sabi Sands, when they mention this, that at least 3 females and a male independently hunting along the same 5-kilometre stretch of river. So it's very variable. And when you go to places like the Kalahari, that's going to be even more difficult, you know. So there's definitely lots of research that's still pending. There's possibly new books being written or new papers coming out. I don't have any more accurate territory sizes for you as we speak. But if there's anyone else out there who's maybe been given the most recent information on territory sizes of male leopards in the Sabi Sands specifically, I'd love to hear from you. Please send through. So I've almost... Oh, there we go. There goes all the oxpeckers. The buffalo are north of us. Unless they're this side, they're all going to land. And listen and see. Oxpeckers are a very good indication of where buffalo are. He's very alert though, everybody. Like, I have a feeling like there's another leopard in the area. Anytime you see Tingy like this and he keeps looking in the same direction, quite intently. We came from that side. We clearly could have missed the leopard quite easily, but don't know. We shall see as the time goes by. He's making a little noise every time he inhales, exhales. Hello, Dad. I don't think you're my dad. Are you my dad? Dad wants to know, how do leopards deal with parasites? Well, they don't really have much option, to be honest. Many of these animals will have many internal parasites that they just have to process. But there are certain plants animals can eat for deworming. I've never seen leopards physically eating deworming plants. A couple of trees around that can do that. They do eat grass to help with with regurgitation, but I don't know of them actually physically doing any deworming. And then they'd have to groom for ticks. Ticks, and they have to do some grooming. That's about it. There's really no other way. Cubs and mums will obviously spend a bit of time mutually grooming each other to assist in certain tick loads. But a big male like this on his own, he's got no one to help him get any ticks off of his body. They grin and bear it.
On the 27th of April, Wild Earth will be turning 14 years old, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you. And to celebrate, we will be finishing the beautiful book that we started last year that looks at the history so far. But we do need you to be part of it. Please submit your most memorable sighting, or what Wild Earth means to you, or even just your name and a comment to be included inside the book. Head over to the website to add your name and reserve your copy. And a big thank you to all of you who have contributed to the book so far.
So in 1998, we had this idea to go and put a live web camera on a waterhole somewhere in the Sabi Sands next to the Kruger National Park. And I approached just about every single landowner, and everybody thought I was completely crazy until I met Yuri and Pippa Moorman.
We thought it was definitely a fun idea and a worthwhile thing to experiment.
And it immediately became a runaway success. And it gave people all around the world the opportunity to watch a little piece of Africa day and night. Back in 1998, it was the very early stages of the internet, and all we were able to do was to get a 30-second refreshing JPEG out of that camera. But over time, what we began to do is focus more and more on trying to develop this concept of giving people the opportunity to go on safari.
Even though we live just 500 meters up this hill, we still put the camera on to see what's happening.
Absolutely, we watch it ourselves.
It's a huge privilege to be in these incredible places with these amazing animals. I love filming lions. When they do get up and do something, it's always spectacular. When they are playing, are incredibly fun to watch, especially subalterns and cubs. I love being in the bush and working in these incredible places with these amazing animals. We want to bring it to you so that you can almost feel like you're right there and be able to experience it and enjoy it the way we are.
Welcome back, everyone, to and beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. When you were with us earlier, we were right on the top of the floodplain. We've now moved down onto the floodplain itself. And we've now joined up with a couple of zebra here in front of us. You can just see how there's two zebra calves here with their mom, and then there looks like there's another two to the right. And you'll notice on the zebra, it's just flown away. There was a couple of oxpeckers on the zebras there. I see they've just flown away. They've moved off. Very young, quite a young zebra there. You can see there's still got its fluff on it. I'll start to lose that fluff as I get a bit older. And to the right of them, a couple more zebra and some wildebeest. And again, same as when we were with those rhinos earlier, some cattle egrets also. Obviously following a zebra and wildebeest for the same reason as the rhino. As they move through the grass, they'll startle any insects, and they'll just swoop up and grab them. perfect spot for all of these grazers and browsers. They've got water just to our left over here, and this is the river we were looking at earlier. We actually came down here because we saw quite a big crocodile moving along. We seem to have lost it for now, and then we came across the zebra here. Earth Angel, you're asking, does the level of heat we've been having in this area affect the amount of animals you see? Very good question. So, generally, the heat of the day, you probably mostly see plains game, like we've got here. We've got the zebra and the wildebeest, and some rhinos. So a lot of them would be coming down for a drink. And especially like the rhino would come down for a mud wallow, just trying to escape that heat. But yeah, generally most animals will try and get out of the sun and probably move into a bit more of a thicker area, as opposed to, and seek a bit of shade as opposed to standing out in the open. So you tend to find a little bit more action at dusk and dawn, also a little cooler. But yeah, plains game, also quite happy to stand out in the open. I suppose the bush is always alive. It just depends what you're looking for and what you see. But in terms of cats and larger game like that, probably a little bit less active during the heat of the day. Here goes this cattle egrets again. Oh, also, again, like the rhino, using the back of the wildebeest and the zebra as almost like a perch. You can also get an idea of how long the grass is on the floodplain here. You can see it's coming up just past the belly height of the zebra and the wildebeest, so definitely enough food about for them. Is zebra, of course, being plains zebra, and a quick way to tell that is plains zebra have those shadow stripes, those lighter stripes between the darker stripes, and you can't see it now because the grass is a bit too long, but also their stripes extending below the belly where it wouldn't for the Cape Mountain zebra, at those lines stopping just before the belly. Oh, to see him. I'm just trying to get a view of it underneath. Off just dropped into the grass. I just needed to get a view of the underneath, the underwing there. Notice quite a dark bird. Have a look. Oh, what a lovely scene with all those egrets. Really is. It's amazing how a bit of rain just brings the life out of the bush. You know, the abundance of water, abundance of food, and it just attracts all sorts of life. Definitely is one of my favorite spots on the reserve, this floodplain. especially on days like today, you'll notice how the grass is slowly just moving there. There's a nice cool breeze blowing across the open area here. No, bugs and biting insects. As you can see how that zebra just shook its head and constantly flicking that tail, just trying to get rid of those biting insects and flies. You'll notice there also how the muscles are twitching and tensing. That's also just trying to get rid of those biting flies and insects there. So I get you asking, will zebra and wildebeest fight with each other? No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't fight with each other. As you can see, they're quite happy mixing with each other. Obviously, the more eyes, the better. And yeah, they're definitely not bothered by each other, and in fact, actually happy to be around each other. Like I mentioned, the more eyes, the better. We keep seeing this raptor just darting in and out of this grass, and I haven't managed to get a good enough view. Looks like a type of buzzard, possibly. Here it comes up again, just starts. As soon as I get a good view, it drops back down into the grass. Looks like it's quite dark and above the wings, so I'm wondering. Flying away from us now. Just waiting for it to turn to get a good view of its underwings. It's got quite a long rectangular tail also. And like I mentioned earlier, very dark on top. Slowly starting to get out of view for me. I was just flying along the floodplain there, scanning, and every now and then you'd see it hovers and drops into the grass. Just actually asking, do the egrets help with predator fighting? No, not that I'm aware of. They wouldn't help in that sense at all. Possibly, I suppose, they might fly off if startled. But as far as I understand, no, they wouldn't help in that sense. The raptor's still flying there. Yeah, underneath got a bit of a tawny colour. I noticed quite a dark head also. Looks like the egrets are fighting for a spot on the back of that wildebeest there for a moment. In the background there, you can also see a couple fever trees there. I think we're going to carry on a little bit more forward, see what the rest of this Munyurwana River has to offer. But for now, you're going to go over to Steve. He's got himself a leopard.
Well, thanks, Dean. Something we don't see here, cattle egrets, walking with our buffaloes. It's quite surprised, actually. But what I am excited about is we saw thick-billed cuckoo just now fly over. It was very cool. Darby wasn't as excited as I was. Were you, Darby? No. He was not. And the cattle egrets should occur here. They're very nomadic. They move in relation to the animals and the seasons and the food. Tingana's not too bothered with all of that. He did lie down for a little bit. His head's back up again. I'm almost certain there's another leopard in the area. Maybe they'll just wait for darkness. When we had Mawati not long ago, on a road just down from this one, moving north, go get the tick off his back, Darby. Meow, when we all have a bit of awe for him, he's done very, very well. He's been a dominant male leopard in this area for a while. He's always been very impressive. And we honestly thought in 2018 he was done for. 3 years later, here he is, still looking strong, everybody. He's got a cut on his lip. He's got a laceration on his left shoulder, but other than that, he's looking in very good condition. His teeth could do with a little bit of whitening, I'll be honest with you, but they still look very, very good. Buffalo are south of us now, Tambuti Dam. So they were probably in this block earlier when we heard them. So when the Zoxpeckers flew over us just now, went down and landed there, must have caught up with the buff. Maybe that's why he's so excited. He's trying to find them as well. How many of you remember that time we found a herd of buffalo and then found Tingana stalking the herd? He sat like this for ages watching them until the herd started moving off, and then this one lone calf. It was about this time of year as well, last year. This one lone calf sort of hung out there, and he ran in and jumped on it. But he wasn't too committed to the situation, and then it made a lot of noise, and the parents came back, and he let go, and well, that was that. Okay, well, it sounds like Pridelands has got some elephants. Let's quickly send you over to them.
And good afternoon and welcome back to Pridelands. Currently sitting in a little rocky outcrop, enjoying a whole group of elephants that has come down to drink. It's actually a number of breeding herds and then a single bull that's quite interested in checking the reproductive status of the females that has come and drink. There's also a lot of play in between. Here we can see towards our right there's two youngsters that are wrestling. So quite often they will lock their trunks like that. They push forward. It's quite often bulls that do a lot of the playing. And we also quite often find that's the reason why bulls have got round heads, is that they can push against one another's heads so that it can create a bigger surface area. So that normally comes into play when they're much older, when fighting becomes very important to gain access to females. I just love watching the elephants. There's always some form of behavior that they're displaying, and there's always some form of behavior that we can interpret, which makes it really interesting. Sometimes they just do absolute nonsensical behaviors, which I don't always understand. There's also a number of more groups that's coming in from a distance. And hopefully they will join soon. These two young bulls are now really becoming very playful. We normally find that these young males will stay with the herds up to 12 to 15 years of age before they get chased away by mom. At that point, they'll join an all-male group, which is referred to as a bachelor herd. These are normally males between the age of 15 and 25. So from 25 years onwards, when they're large enough and physically large enough to compete for cows and mating, then they'll tend to go on their own. But once again, when they're much older, beyond the point of 45, where they go out of must, they tend to regroup sometimes with all-male groups. Quite often, these older bulls will very smartly position themselves into the center between these young males then, and use them as a safety barrier around them. We're going to watch these guys for a little bit longer and see what they get up to.
Nestled on the banks of one of the largest lakes in the Sabi Sands lies an award-winning game lodge called Chitwa Chitwa. Many of you will have been on safari here virtually with Wild Earth, but now we are offering you the chance to see it for yourself in person. Sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer before the end of April, and you and a friend could win 3 nights to this luxury lodge. In addition to the unforgettable safaris, you can unwind on the deck, relax in the pool, and even savor the various bush dining experiences. Chitwa's holistic approach to hospitality, with specific emphasis on conservation, will leave you with the very best memories of the African wild. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature. For many years, Wild Earth has taken viewers from around the world to the Mara Triangle, a place of majestic beauty and abundant wildlife. But it wasn't always like this. Before 2001, it was infested with poachers. Illegal harvesting and hunting was rife. Now the situation couldn't be more different. The hard work and dedication of the Mara Conservancy has revolutionized this magical land. But now, the loss of revenue from tourism has created a grave crisis. The Mara Conservancy needs help if they are to continue protecting the reserve and supporting the local communities whose livelihood depend on its survival.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at Wild Earth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you're going to have to register on the website. But once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed.
Welcome back everyone to and beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve, and we've moved a little bit more to the eastern side of this floodplain, and we found ourselves a grey heron just on the edge of the water there. You can just see that, how the white comes down, and it's got that sort of grey throat that runs down. If it lifts its head, you'll start to see that yellow bill. That's quite obvious, and got those yellowish legs also. So it's standing on the edge of the water there. Mostly feeds on things like fish, on mollusks, and even worms, insects, even things larger like small rodents and even birds. Seems to have its head tucked under its wing there, quite far away. Might be preening itself, so it'll run its bill over its preanal gland and run that through its feathers, also sorting out any loose and old. There you go, it lifts its head now. And you can see that yellow bull I was talking about earlier. Mike, I couldn't agree with you more. It really is such a beautiful scene. We often refer to it, or at least I do, to our own little mini Masai Mara area. It really is so beautiful. Even if you just take a couple of seconds just to listen. Every now and then I can hear some little bee eaters in the background. Also you can hear a white-browed scrub robin in the distance. It is really such a beautiful scene. A couple of lilies there look like crinum lilies. stunning. Got those long stalks and the white on the outside and got that purple on the inside there. Quite abstract compared to everything else here. Really sticks out, it catches your eye. You can get an idea of how much rain we've had by how much this water level's come up. There's next to no banks here, and it's pretty much water and then grass. The water's really come up here. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, we were able to actually drive through here. Boxy, you're asking, do I consider myself a birder? I do. Obviously, don't know all the birds, but definitely. In fact, I was actually trying to figure out that bird that we saw earlier. It was quite a tricky one, difficult, especially with raptors when they're flying, to identify them. I was thinking they're along the lines of a marsh harrier, which is quite a special bird to see in these areas. Definitely a very bird-rich area. But great question, Boxy. Thank you. To our left, just a couple more wildebeest and zebra. Just on the edge of that thicket there. But earlier, all those zebra and wildebeest were a bit closer to us having a drink. It looked like now they're moving off the floodplain, possibly into the edges of that thicket there, and maybe even into the thick areas. Every now and then you'll see a pied kingfisher flies past. I don't see it for now. It seemed to have gone off to our left here. You can imagine there's quite a bit of fish in this water. As I was saying earlier, a couple of weeks ago, you could actually drive through this area here, but to our left here you can see the road is now underwater and it's all black cotton soil, so chances are you wouldn't make it through now. And as you go on the other side, there's a road that wraps around and joins up with that thick area there. Elizabeth, you're asking, are zebras biologically similar to horses? And they are. They are very similar. They do share the same family, the Equidae family, so part of the same family. Donkeys being, again, part of that family also. So yes, they are all part of the same family. blacksmith lapwing. I was actually wondering whether I could hear them earlier. Quite appropriately named the blacksmith lapwing. If we're lucky enough to hear it, it makes quite a metallic, sort of irony sound, metal on metal sound, that clink. I think we're going to turn around, see if we can find some of this rhino again. But for now, you're going to go over to Steve. He's still with his leopard.
Just in time, he's just raised his head. He's been having a little bit of a nap. But the wind has picked up once more. And I wonder if you can smell the booths. It's actually going to be quite a fresh evening, I think, Darby. What do you reckon? It's gone from quite warm to suddenly feeling a little bit fresh, which I'm happy about. So we saw that little haziness on the west. Now, will they come up on the camera there, Darby? That haze developing there on the east? Not really. Kind of see a haziness to the lower parts of the sky there. You can't really see it on the camera. There's definitely the approach of another front. You're laughing. The last one was a warm front. Fronts are difficult to predict what they're going to be. But it feels like we've had a couple of days of warm, often followed by some cold. It's about time. It's already April. Well into April. Giraffe Girl, how far is Nsele? I'll have to just have a look on my map. I don't know if this is actually going to give me a proper direction, but I can work it out for you. Darby's full of giggles today. Full of giggles. Okay, so we're all the way on Tambuti Dam. I'm sure there's a little bit of a... I don't have my big map with me here, so I can't show you on that big map. I could probably show you on this there. Hey, Darby, let's... I think it might work better that way. Okay, so we are the blue dot over there. Right over there. So Nsele is all the way over there by Sussens Dam. So she's all the way over there. So it's a fair distance. It's probably a few kilometers, but it's not really that far in the greater scheme of things. He's not really traveling that sort of distance. He's only moving a few hundred meters. Each time we found him, he hasn't been far from where he was last time. Just sort of moving between territorial males, snatching a meal here or there, but he definitely would try and steal Nsele's kill. Apparently there wasn't much left, though, this morning. Probably smell them now. Nothing like the Ode de Booth. RS, I mean, he's basically, if he's not being territorial, he's just bouncing between the other males. So it doesn't really mean much to them. If he's not being territorial, he's not threatening them, he's not challenging them. He's just going about the retired life of a veteran. And if he hears a male call, which is one of the purposes of leopards being territorial, is they send mark to advertise their presence, and they call to advertise their immediate vicinity. And if Tingana, for example, was still being territorial and a male called too close to his territory, he'd go and investigate and go and challenge. But if he's lost his territorial behavior and a male calls just down the road, he'll probably get up and go in the other direction, or just move away, or just keep away. And just sort of fly under the radar, as you would. Just fly under the radar, just keep a low profile, don't call, don't scent mark. There's no need for the other males to have any issue with him if he's not actively trying to cover their scent with his or call, because that would obviously be a challenge, and that is for breeding rights, and that would be a big problem. So he's just moving through parts of his old range, going to areas he knows very well, and no doubt he's probably trying to scavenge food from some females, but I'm sure he's also doing a bit of hunting himself. He's still looking in very good condition. It's hard to say, Rita. It's hard to say how many leopard cubs survive. It is also area specific. It's also female specific. I don't know if there is an actual number. Some leopards raise more cubs to adulthood than others. So I don't actually know a statistic. Once they get to their first year, 14 months, generally survive. But once you become an adult, doesn't mean that it's all plain sailing from there on out. Territorial females and territorial males undergo enormous amounts of pressure to maintain that territory. That's why to see old men like Tingana still hanging around. I've done really well to avoid getting into serious confrontations, being territorial and dominant and taking over an area and keeping it without physically having to fight. Because when these guys do fight, it's incredible. The risk to injury is enormous. Remember many of Hukumuri's injuries. He was not like Tingana, he was more of a go-getter rather than a let's just make noise and keep everybody away kind of fellow. Okay, well, we're going to stay here with the Duke. Maybe he'll go up and investigate the buffaloes. In the meantime, we send you back over to Pinda.
Welcome back, everyone, to and beyond Pinda Private Game Reserve. We turned around from where we were, and just to our side, left here, we've managed to find two white rhino, also known as square-lipped rhinos. They're slowly moving through the long grass there. I actually think these two were part of the 5, I think even 6 that we saw earlier. They've now moved off onto their own here, and the reason I say it is because there was one that had that mud wallow line down the side there. You can see that darker shade on the skin there, where it obviously went for a bit of a mud wallow earlier. And also you can see the excrement from the cattle egret. The 3 spots and down the back, those white spots where the egrets were standing on that rhino's back. Oliver's asking, how are we able to tell whether it's a white rhino or a black rhino? Great question, Oliver. So, generally, from far, white rhino tend to have their heads lower, obviously being grazers and not browsers like the white rhino, so generally their heads are a bit lower. They are a little bit larger than the black rhino, and they've got that broad, long, square muzzle. If you are close enough to actually see their mouth, you'll see that. They've also got that hump behind the neck there, which is quite an easy way to tell. There you can see it there, that hump right behind the neck there, where the black rhino, it is not as prominent. That's just a quick way to tell. But from far, I generally run on, they tend to have their heads a little bit lower, and they are a little bit larger than black rhino. And obviously being grazers, feeding on grass, also the area they are. They tend to be in these open grassland areas, occasionally in thicker areas where you don't often find hook-lipped or black rhinoceros in these open grassland areas. That being said, the other day we did find 2 of the black rhinos not too far from here also. But yeah, as I say, generally white rhino like more open grassland areas being grazers, and black rhino thick areas being browsers. A really lovely scene here. The sun is slowly starting to set behind us here, and the light just hitting the top of the grass here. In fact, I'm just seeing it now. They both have that mud wallow line, only coming up to half on the side of the body there. You sometimes find they've got mud right over the back, where you can just imagine how they would have actually literally rolled right over in the mud wallow. But in this case, only on the side. Seth, you're asking, do rhinos have any predators? No, generally not. Occasionally the young are preyed on by things like lions and even, a really young one and a big male leopard. A male leopard might go for them. But no, and even in that case, the mothers are so protective, the chances of a predator like a lion or even a big leopard going for them are very, very unlikely. So no, generally they don't have any predators. It is just such a lovely scene here today. We've got the rhinos moving off to our left here. We've got the river running down here, and the beautiful golden light of that sun just starting to set behind us. Lovely time of year also, with the mornings being nice and cool and the days not too hot. Today was one of the hotter days we've had. But the evening's nice and cool. Lovely, lovely weather all around. always amazed me how quick that sun actually goes down. Just a moment ago it was high up in the sky, and now it's just on the edge of that mountain there starting to set. It really does go down really quickly now. All the colours coming through, such a variety of those golden colours there. It was quite windy a couple of days ago, and you can still see how the dust is still in the air a little bit, and just creating that amber colour in the sunset. It is stunning. Have a look at that. How picturesque is that? What a beautiful scene. Beach Girl, I couldn't agree with you more. It really is stunning. It really is. Phinda is looking absolutely beautiful at the moment. Always, but especially this time of year. Just lost sight of that white-breasted cormorant flying off into the distance there. Definitely a wallpaper scene there with that sun going down. Very, very pretty. Background, I can just hear some of the wildebeest making that grunting noise, and the sound of oxpeckers rattling away. And also the sound of the impalas in their rutting season. So this was the area where those rhino were earlier. Looks like they've slowly moved off. You can also hear a gorgeous bush shrike in the background. And a Cape turtle dove also. Just the edge of a couple impalas there. Oh, there's a nyala. Beautiful bull nyala there. Just saw that white dorsal hair down the back there. And those white vertical lines running down there. Must be one of the most pretty antelope. Oh, just moved off behind that thicket there, can't see it anymore. You can also hear orange-breasted bush shrike in the distance. And I've just noticed there on the mountain there's a female kudu there, just in the distance there. Just below our Quasi training camp. There you can see the buildings there. That's actually our training camp right on top there. You can imagine during your training here the views you would have. Those rhinos have carried on moving to our left there. They're moving more into the center part of this floodplain. southern fiscal there also. Noticed it actually earlier, also seemed to be following those rhinos, very much like the cattle egrets are doing. So I think what's going to happen is these rhinos are going to carry on grazing and slowly make their way towards the water at some point and go for a drink, and then as the sun goes down we'll probably look for a nice area to have a bit of a lie down.
On the 27th of April, Wild Earth will be turning 14 years old, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you. And to celebrate, we will be finishing the beautiful book that we started last year that looks at the history so far. But we do need you to be part of it. Please submit your most memorable sighting, or what Wild Earth means to you, or even just your name and a comment to be included inside the book. Head over to the website to add your name and reserve your copy. And a big thank you to all of you who have contributed to the book so far.
Graham, I'm just going to see, there's a very good place that I want to see if we can get good signal from there. That's what I'd like to know.
Welcome to dawn in the African bush.
How cool is this? Can you believe it?
Those cubs are now only 10 feet from us. Unbelievable.
Elephants chasing wild dogs chasing elephants. Pandemonium!
Watching how Wild Earth has grown since 2007 has been truly remarkable. On the 27th of April this year, Wild Earth will be turning 14, and we would love to hear from you. Please send us your own special birthday message, which we can share with the rest of the Wild Earth family. Maybe you can tell us why you started watching Wild Earth, what Wild Earth means to you, or you could just send us a very happy birthday. Don't forget, when you want to film yourself, to hold your phone sideways to get the best angle. When you are ready, you can email your videos through to birthday@wildearth.tv.
Hi everyone, my name's Daniel Fisher and I'm going to be your guide this afternoon. I'm looking really forward to taking you through and showing you all the beautiful places here at And Beyond Ngala. If you have any questions, please register on our website. Once registered, go to the live page feed and post your questions underneath the live feed. Join me on my next safari through And Beyond Ngala on Wild Earth. Send me live questions through the Wild Earth website and I'll answer them live from the African.
Well, everybody, it's been a very nice, relaxing afternoon with the Duke. Can definitely hear the buffalo south of us now. They haven't attracted his attention though. Maybe his days of buffalo wrangling are over. So Kibia, they do overlap. There's enormous amounts of overlap in their home range. And then the actual territory itself does change its boundaries from time to time with the rainfall, washing away the scent. But what we've noticed, well, I've physically noticed, is that the males will walk very specific routes. cut that. I pushed scan instead of off. So, like we had Tingana and Hukumuri walking the exact same pathways within Djuma, and now we have Mawati walking the same route that Hukumuri was walking before. So, you know, if the territory is unavailable, they will claim it. But if a male walks and scent marks and reapplies his scent, because bearing in mind a leopard scent lasts about 2 weeks, some people say. But if there's any moisture or rainfall, it gets washed away, so they have to reapply. So if there's been rain and the leopards don't reapply, then it makes that area available. So another animal might move in. It obviously comes with a challenge, it comes with a consequence if the animal is there. But that's why as soon as it's rained, and every couple of weeks or so, you'll notice that these leopards will remark and reapply. Their territorial paste and territorial marking is in the form of urine along the route. Females will do the same thing. That advertises their sexual status, which then a male will be quite keen on to try and follow up on her. Females obviously test the male's urine as well to sort of figure out all sorts of things and probably cue her brain towards excitement or towards dominance or towards physicality, whatever it might be. And they'll physically go and seek out an individual as well. So the territories are very, very important that they maintain those boundaries, and that leads to those males being able to coexist right next door to each other without having to conflict with each other, without having to fight. Unless a female comes to estrus right in between the two of them, then there will be some confrontation for a period of time while they try to figure out who's in charge. And that's why those territorial boundaries are quite well marked. A leopard who might become nomadic in the form of what we believe Tingana might be would know exactly where those boundaries are. You just move between them. You just go from this side to that side, to this side to that side, trying to avoid any conflict. Have a vehicle coming to join us. Well, Matthew, the eye colour and everything with regards to these animals is all lineage and genetics. The lineage, you can't pick them apart. The genetics is from both sides, and the lineage is also from both sides. So essentially lineage and genetics is a similar sort of thing, isn't it? How do you separate them? A leopard gets genes from mum and from dad, and both of them have got a lineage from either direction, and both of them have also got their own genetics from that lineage. So it's kind of a question that's quite sort of a bit of itself, I think. We're very well hidden in the long grass here. I think they weren't coming to join us. What do you think, Darby? When they're going to turn around. We definitely did have someone coming to join us, but they looked like they were having way too much fun. It was good. It's nice to be having fun out in the bush. Many people come on safari or on game drives, and the recreational sort of capacity behind it is great. So many people feel so connected to the bush, so I feel like they really let go of things. Although everyone's got Wi-Fi these days, it's a nice place to get away from it all, to switch off, disconnect to ground, being out in the bush with the fresh air and the smells. And even if you don't see wildlife, it can also be very, very fulfilling. So genetics is locked up in the lineage, isn't it? We talk about Tingana's lineage. He's also passing on the genetics of that lineage. Obviously, the lineage is always being added to, and the genetics through the population is being added to as well. And it's very, very, very important that the males move away, the females stay, so as to mix up that genetics as much as possible. Okay, well, we're going to quickly send you over to Lauren, who's stopped to watch the sun.
Isn't this just mouth-wateringly beautiful? We've got the two battaliers. I can't see the sexies right now. Which one's a male, which one's a female? Because, of course, we're looking at a silhouette, but we've got two battaliers and one of the dead trees. Now, we have just been with Tandy and Cub. Maribs, my goodness, he's tucking into a huge impala ram. I don't know which one of them made the kill, but it's very, very fresh. It's a fully grown adult ram, possibly one that lost his concentration because he was distracted by the females. It is rutting season after all, and Maribs is tucking in like there's no tomorrow. And of course there is a tomorrow. But he's a hungry boy, and unfortunately, guys, it's no signal. So we're just going to move onwards. They're on Torchwood, in case any of you are interested. They're on Pipe Road, just past the Terminalia Junction. And I'd be intrigued to know who made the kill. But you know what? Let's just take a moment to admire this gorgeous sunset. Andrew, I don't even know how to answer that. How beautiful is this? There are no words. Isn't that right, Andrew? You can see the Drakensberg Mountains. You can see the entire Sabi Sands and the two battaliers. Most likely the male and female. Anna Marie, I'm so glad, yes. I love the fact that I can share the sunsets with you and that you feel fortunate. And I'm lucky that I've traveled the world. My career's taken me across the globe, many different corners of the globe. And honestly, deep within my heart, I can say there's really no sunset like an African sunset. I mean, Maldives comes close. It really does, but between here and the Masai Mara, it wins every time. We were actually coming here to check on the battle-eared chick, but now that I've found the two adults in this tree, I'm not entirely sure we're going to see anything in the other tree, but we shall try. Wendy's not broken down yet, everyone. I think Opa finally worked his magic. That man is a wizard. And we may be on the home straight. I'm going to go and check the nest now. Hopefully I might get lucky. And then off to the hyena den. But you guys are going to head back across to Tingana.
We haven't missed anything. He's gone very flat. He's pulling in the typical Tingana posture. Vehicle has joined us. They're overwhelmed by Tingana's activity. They're going to go stop somewhere for a sundowner. I was talking before about how many people come to the bush for recreational reasons. It's a really nice way to connect, wind down. Very good pastime for many South Africans. You heard Graham last night on a fireside chat talking about how his family used to take him to the Kruger as a child at 0 years of age. So many of us were taken to these areas as kids, and that's definitely something that's stuck with me. And it's definitely a wonderful place to spend time. Families, friends. And that's why people come from all over the world to spend time here as well. And they don't really realize how much it's going to affect them until they come the first time. They often talk about the bug. Once the African bug is bitten, the amount of international people I've met that have visited Africa once. It's not only South Africa, all over Southern Africa, East Africa, wherever people have come. They come for a short visit. He's up. Pupinja, I think most animals could walk backwards, and if they needed to, it's a mobility thing. You know, I mean, the legs go forwards, they go backwards. It's all about coordination, isn't it? I mean, I don't think they can just, any animal can just walk backwards. There has to be a bit of impetus. You know, if you push me, I go backwards, but walking backwards requires a little bit of concentration. So, Darby, have you seen them walk backwards? Not like Michael Jackson. I don't think they can do the moonwalk or anything like that. But I'm going to watch. Definitely on a slow-mo video that's put in reverse. It doesn't have to be slow-mo, but it looked quite funny, actually, the whole posturing. I've never seen one walk backwards. Now you've got me thinking. Got a couple of lovely juicy ticks in his ear there. Naomi, it is wonderful to spend time with them, wonderful for you to see them, and it's a blessing to be able to provide you these animals on your screens. But to come out here and to physically see them as well, it's definitely a must. Wild and free in these reserves, but it also highlights the need to conserve areas. These animals need large areas, wild, untouched areas to survive. Most animals you'll see out on these shows, on these safaris, are not able to survive without protection, not able to survive without their large conservation areas kept intact. They need the habitats. They need the food, they need the breeding areas, they need all sorts of the things that come with these conservation areas. I mean, the Kruger Park itself, this whole area here was initially, when people first came down, it was a tsetse fly, crazy place where anyone who brought any livestock had just died. So completely out of a randomness of there being an insect that prevented people from moving into this area and colonizing it, it was declared a national park later on. Because for a long time around the world, it was the paradigm of the utilitarian paradigm of just using. Nature is there to be used. The meat, the skins, the wood, everything is there to be used. There was no thought of conserving. There were herds of hundreds of thousands of animals, so people just thought the abundance is here, we'll just take. And in the late 1800s, they had been hunting all over South Africa, and animals started to disappear. I mean, earlier on in that century, the blue antelope and the quagga, Cape lion, all disappeared. Didn't see them again. Elephants that used to roam all over the Cape, gone. And there were remnants of them still up in these areas. And Boer sort of president at the time, Paul Kruger, came up with an idea that, the animals are becoming harder and harder to find. So let's just have this massive area that is demarcated and left alone where the animals can breed, and then we can hunt them again. That was his initial mindset. And lo and behold, 30, 40 years later, the area was actually demarcated and proclaimed the largest national park in Southern Africa. So blessings to him for that foresight. Anyway, we're going to send you over to Phinda, who have got a wonderful landscape.
Welcome back, everyone, to and beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. We've now moved from the bottom of the floodplain right round to the top of the mountain here. We're actually not in our training camp. And you can see in the distance there, there's rhinos moving off, but also Odie and I have just spotted a kudu. There's those rhinos we were with earlier. Like I mentioned, they were grazing through here, and I said they were going to move at some point to the river, or something startled that one. Closer to the river and go for a drink, and then probably after that they'll find another open area and we'll go for a lie down. The light is slowly starting to fade now. And I'm wondering now if that kudu's actually come out. It was on the mountain side there as we were driving up. There it is. A lone kudu cow. Light isn't the greatest, but you can also see those vertical white lines, same as that nyala. Both the bull and cow nyala have it. Kudu cow's got them running down. Quite strange to see the one cow by herself. And also in the open like this, kudus prefer the mountain, more rocky edges. They like the bush willow thickets, the Combretum thickets. And this one seems to be venturing out a little bit. I'm wondering if it's actually going to move across this floodplain and closer to that water. But again, kudu cows don't tend to be by themselves like this. They're normally in, well, at least a couple of them together. Look at that, the color of the sky in the background there. Almost like a purpley amber color. Really is stunning with the water and the river in the background. You can hear that white-browed scrub robin whistling off just behind us. It's absolutely peaceful. It's quite amazing to think just in front of us, we've got 3 or 4 different animal species. We've got the rhino, we've got some wildebeest, got some zebra, quite a lot of zebra action today, and also nyala and impala to the left. And also, like I mentioned earlier, there was a big crocodile. We weren't able to find it again, but then yeah, crocodile in that river there. Occasionally we do find some hippos. So definitely full of life, this area. Such a beautiful time of the day.
Nestled on the banks of one of the largest lakes in the Sabi Sands lies an award-winning game lodge called Chitwa Chitwa. Many of you will have been on safari here virtually with Wild Earth, but now we are offering you the chance to see it for yourself in person. Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer before the end of April, and you and a friend could win 3 nights to this luxury lodge. In addition to the unforgettable safaris, you can unwind on the deck, relax in the pool, and even savor the various bush dining experiences. Chitwa's holistic approach to hospitality, with specific emphasis on conservation, will leave you with the very best memories of the African wild. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
So in 1998, we had this idea to go and put a live web camera on a waterhole somewhere in the Sabi Sands next to the Kruger National Park. And I approached just about every single landowner, and everybody thought I was completely crazy until I met Yuri and Pippa Moorman.
We thought it was definitely a fun idea and a worthwhile thing to experiment.
And it immediately became a runaway success. And it gave people all around the world the opportunity to watch a little piece of Africa day and night. Back in 1998, it was the very early stages of the internet, and all we were able to do was to get a 30-second refreshing JPEG out of that camera. But over time, what we began to do is focus more and more on trying to develop this concept of giving people the opportunity to go on safari.
Even though we live just 500 meters up this hill, we still put the camera on to see what's happening.
Absolutely, we watch it ourselves.
Hello, I'm Marna, your Wild Earth Safari Guide from And Beyond Gala. What I really like about connecting with Wild Earth viewers is that we get to speak to viewers instantly, and I get to show you this beautiful property. If you want to ask me a question, register on the Wild Earth website. Simply head over to the live safari page and you can submit your questions there. Join me or one of the other guides twice a day on Wild Earth.
We are having the best sighting. Mom flew in with something dead. Did you see what it was, Morgan? No. It was dead. And she's tearing it up and feeding Chick. Oh, this is amazing. She's feeding it by mouth. Oh, it seems to all be about mothers and offspring today. And it's just taking it out of Mom's mouth. Oh, my heart is melting. This is a moment I've actually been waiting for months, everyone. I've been following this nest. This is what I wanted to see. Julia, you're right. This is incredible. I've been waiting, and we finally got a glimpse of the, I was about to say cub, chick, the other day. And I come back and it's empty, and then all of a sudden we spotted the chick, and Mom just landed to deliver dinner. And you know, maternal instincts in the animal kingdom are really something. There's lots of paternal examples as well, but maternal instincts, it blows my mind every time. Most mothers are fiercely protective over their young in some way, shape or form, or will do whatever is necessary for the young to survive. I mean, this is an avian example. It's not all mammalian examples. Even crocodiles, yes, maternal instincts are not that high. They don't produce milk. They don't stash their hatchlings in dens and return with food. But there's a little bit of maternal behavior. They even hold the hatchlings in their mouth to put them into the water, to give them that head start in life. That's not nothing. But this is just, oh, I'm so happy. It's like Mom cutting your food when you're not really that good at using a knife and fork. That's what's happening here. The chick stood up earlier and stretched his wings as well. As getting big. Do you mean you're saying it's such a beautiful bird when it's up nice and close? I know. The coloration from that rusty copper on the back to the silver grey on the wings, the red face, the yellow beak, the red feet. Oh, it's very striking. But the chick looks nothing like it. It's got a very pale, whitey, yellowish face, a bluish beak, and brown feathers. I think we'll get a view at some point if we just stay patient enough, and hopefully we haven't lost too much light. Morgan's pulling a face. I think his face means that we are losing too much light. We can still view them in infrared, of course, it just will not be as spectacular. Oh, you are such a good mama. I wonder what it is. I didn't catch what the prey species is or was. I'm not sure what the correct word is. Probably was. But it's very commonly snakes. At this stage in the chick's development, it's very commonly snakes that both parents can catch. And if the male catches it, he will pass it to the female, who does this tearing to sort of make sure it's in small little chunks and deliver it to the chick. Oh. And you're like, I'm not sure, because I was following it, and there definitely wasn't a chick when I went on leave. Well, not leave, but when I was not working here in the last 2 weeks of March. Then when I returned at the start of April, we found the chick. So I think, honestly, it's within a week or two. But it's very hard. I mean, this nest is really high up on this knobthorn, and of course it could have hatched a little bit earlier and we just didn't see it. So it's tricky to tell. Somewhere, it's definitely under a month, I would say. And we knew that she was incubating. So because we can actually see the egg, it's a little bit tricky to say, but I would say definitely under the month mark. This is just really special. Just keeping a lookout, tearing the prey, feeding the chick, hunting. She needs to also hunt for herself, remember? Craig, you're asking at what age can this chick start to feed itself? It's a very fast development within the Battelier. And at around, I'm just checking to make sure I'm going to get, I think it's around 6 weeks, it starts to feed itself. But I am just going to double check that for you. After 7 weeks, sorry. So after 7 weeks, parental attendance drops to about 25%. That's a big drop from 100% to 25%. So obviously a 75% loss of parental care, which means that chick must be starting to get a little bit independent by then. Yeah. So at 6 to 7 weeks, it self-feeds. Now we are losing a bit too much light, Morgan, aren't we? We're going to head into... Definitely not able to determine what that is up there. But Bateliers are spectacular at hunting snakes. Small reptiles, small mammals. Oh, we're going to stand up there. Oh, no. Sorry, it was toilet time. A lovely end to that beautiful moment. So I do think we will leave the Bateliers because I want to check the hyena den. So for now, after this precious moment, we are going to send you across to Steve.
Welcome back, everyone. We're being charged. Hold on, here they come. Little family of guinea fowl. How marvelous is this? Gonna run right past them.
Rex, come in for me, sir.
They're not quite sure. Now, what is this big thing in the way here? Good time to just check one's flight feathers. Quickly. Got everything? Did you leave anything behind? Quick little check this way. It looks like they're all searching for something. It's in my pocket. It's in my pocket. No, it's in my pocket. You can see the defensive strategy. All huddling together like that. This is very cute, Michelle. Now they decided it's not the direction they wanted to go. You see with the term, putting your neck out on the line. Whoopsie. How awesome is that? So, guinea fowl can fly. If you didn't think they could, they most certainly can. They don't really go very far up. They go up and then they do a lot of descent, but they can get quite far away from whatever it is that's trying to catch them, and then they land again. That was very cool with a sort of nice orange sky behind. The guinea fowl's charging towards us. Okay. Lights. We're going to go check the west. Then we're going to go check the south. And then we're going to go check the east. That's our plan. Darby, up for it. Yeah. Darby's up for it. Wildflower, of course, it is a road to paradise. We're in paradise right now. This is the Buffelshoek. You want to just drive like that, Darby? Yeah. This is the road to paradise. Buffelshoek is on the right. Djuma is on the left. Just make out the Drakensberg escarpment in the distance. Beautiful. Maybe with that off, is that better? Oh, gorgeous. So I was hoping to just meander down this road, and this takes us to Sydney's Dam and to sort of the gate area, junction with Manyeleti, and maybe that time of day when the lions will decide it's time for them to come back onto Djuma. Let's just have a little quiet moment, shall we? On our road to paradise. A nice moment to just reflect on the day. We've had a very special day. Liam wanted to know if I know all the Djuma roads off by heart. Well, Liam, the Djuma roads, yes, a long time ago. First few weeks, I suppose. When you start guiding in an area, it's always important to learn the roads very quickly. We've also walked Djuma backwards. right turn before, but the leopards walk backwards. We walked it backwards, up and down. We've done bushwalk pretty much the entire Djuma, so we know it intimately. Buffelshoek and Torchwood, we don't actually go on to most of them. Most of Torchwood and Buffelshoek too much. The areas in both that I know very well. Chitwa, I know my way around as well. I don't know any of the road names, maybe a couple of the names, but we don't actually have a proper map. Just kind of know where we can and can't go. But it's one of the most important things of arriving in an area is learning your way around. The first few weeks, you're basically given a map and a vehicle, and the head guide will say, go learn. It takes time. But when you've done 1 or 2 different properties, it gets easier because you learn little things that help you. A specific tree, some certain signboards if they're there, the way a termite mound looks, or a river line. Directions, always. You learn how to know where your direction is all the time. Where's the sun? Where's the moon? Which way's south? Where's the mountain range? So it's very important to learn your way very quickly. But I think some people are better at learning roads quicker than others. But to drive them is the best. You can't sit in the passenger seat and think you're going to learn them very well. That takes too long. Drive, stop, drive, stop. Pridelands, I learned most of those roads in 2 weeks there. I was there for 3 weeks. But then you've got to willingly want to stop and learn, look, practice, recall. Never a nice feeling not knowing exactly where you are. It's okay though. We are here. And this is now. Fabiano, well, it's the end of the sunset now, but it is a dream. Indeed, we missed the sunset. We were with Tingana just on the other side of the hill, so I'm sure Lauren showed you a beautiful sunset. The end of a beautiful day. End of a very magical day. Okay, well, that was beautiful. We're going to carry on checking the west here and send you over to Lauren, who I believe is on the move.
Not actually on a mission, but I am bumbling. Bumped into a hyena. Couldn't identify it, unfortunately, but the hyena was definitely on a mission. That's for sure. They always are when it comes to this time of night. And it was amazing last night just watching Ribbon, Comet, they all just arrived one by one at Tlalamba's kill. Really surreal how they're able to just pinpoint immediately where that smell is coming from. Humans really don't have that ability. I have quite a good sense of smell. My other senses really don't work that well, but the smell works. But I'm still not able to pinpoint with exact sort of accuracy where that odor is coming from. But hyenas, my goodness, they definitely can. So of course we are bumbling ever so slowly towards the Dane. I really hope it's active. I know all of you are missing the Jumaclan Dane sightings. Me too. It's just changing. I remember when Corky was matriarch and it changed Dane as well. Sorry, Elton, you're going to have to ask that question again, I'm afraid. Catch that name, but not all animal births are seasonal. And of course, with the antelope species, a lot of them time their birth with the onset of summer. So there's a plentiful food supply for their offspring, because remember, a lot of antelopes, or most of them, the young are completely developed when they come out the womb. We call this precocial. So they can start eating straight away. Although they do suckle for a short time, really they're ready to hit the ground running. So they time it with summer so that the parents are healthy, are in good condition, and of course there's plenty of food for the offspring once they go on to solid food. But with the predators, it's not necessarily timed with summer at all. Leopards can mate and come into estrus and then give birth all year round. There's really no sort of season to it. So many animals will give birth. Some animals out here have seasons, some do not. And of course, the most obvious one is definitely the impalas, because they coordinate everything. There's the rutting season, which is kicking off right now. And then, of course, there's the lambing season, where they all drop their lambs at once. So that's probably the most obvious example. But with your predators, it's less based on season. There's a lot of factors to consider. So let's just take a leopard as an example, because Miss Tlalamba is a new mama. If a leopardess loses her litter, so she gives birth but she loses her litter, she will come into estrus again pretty soon after that. It won't be timed, it won't be based on season, it will just be based on the unfortunate event that she lost the litter. So she'll come into estrus again. This happened to Shadulu. I think that was your sighting, Morgan, wasn't it? With Shadulu's cub and the hyena. So Shadulu unfortunately lost a litter. We think it was of 2. And she's been mating again. She came into estrus again and she's now mating again. And of course, hopefully, that's been successful. Hopefully, Shadulu's pregnant. And of course, within 3.5 months, she will give birth again and have another litter. So for the predators, it's based on a lot of other factors and not necessarily season. Lionesses are a great example. There's lots of records of them going into a false estrus to sort of protect the pride, protect the offspring, and it's not actually a full estrus. They also are not really coordinated with any seasons. I'm gonna try and guess this one. Gucci Gumi? Would you say that's right, Morgan? Okay, Gucci Gumi. Am I right, Elson? These names tonight have been something else. Gucci Gumi. Hi there. It's going to be a strange one because the hyena cubs are all at different ages. So for example, Ntima's son is obviously the youngest of all of the cubs, and he will rely on the den for a lot longer than the others, of course. Whereas you have Ngwazi and Shimbulu, who are now over a year old. They're getting some elephants ahead. I just need to turn down the radio so it doesn't scare them, and then turn down the lights. We will be going into infrared. I just want to move slowly closer. I'm going to keep my spotlight out for safety. Elephants in the dark's a bit of a tricky one. Okay, I'm just going to pull up here and watch them feeding. So yes, normally around sort of a year and a half, they'll start to find that the bigger cubs will become almost not dependent on the den at all. This is a youngster. You gotta be really careful with elephants at night in case you startle them, even if you don't mean it. Isn't this lovely? If you ask Darby what his favourite animal is, he'll say a pink elephant. Because we used to view them through the thermal camera. And we used to get pink elephants. Brakeep, no. Elephants are non-territorial. They will have a home range. Every organism has a home range, and a home range is basically just an area that they utilize for resources, food, water, shelter, safety, sleeping sites, nesting sites, and a territory is something different. Territories normally fit into a home range. Home ranges are larger, and they're actively defended, whether that is by scent marking or by calling or by physical altercations. Territory and home range actually mean two different things. So elephants are non-territorial, they're highly mobile animals, but they do have a home range. They really move with the matriarch's lead, and she will be leading them to areas that have been successful in terms of food and water. And she won't just be basing this on the past year. It's ecological and environmental knowledge that has built up over years and years and years with the matriarch. Oh, just realised everyone's gone. So say last year was a great year at Gowrie Dam. There was lots of water, lots of vegetation, lots of delicious things to eat. But all the years before that, I'm going to move forward, Morgan, all the years before that were not. She won't necessarily take them back there that next again year, because it was only 1 year. She relies on areas that have been providing a guaranteed sort of resource point in order to take her herd there. Okay, I'm going to try and keep up with this herd before popping into the hyena den. But for now, over to Steve.
Welcome back, everyone. We've got 3 white-tailed mongoose here. Probably an adult with 2 youngsters. They're playing, running around, jumping on each other. All very similar in size, but one's slightly bigger. I asked Darby what he thought we might see next. He didn't say pink elephant. He asked maybe a honey badger. And I saw this in the long grass, and they often can be mistaken for honey badgers. That black body. Some people even say that if they pull their tail over their back, onto their back, that white tail will mimic that of a honey badger, which might give them a moment of hesitation from a predator, allow them to escape. How cool is that?
On the 27th of April, Wild Earth will be turning 14 years old, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you. And to celebrate, we will be finishing the beautiful book that we started last year that looks at the history so far. But we do need you to be part of it. Please submit your most memorable sighting, or what Wild Earth means to you, or even just your name and a comment to be included inside the book. Head over to the website to add your name and reserve your copy. And a big thank you to all of you who have contributed to the book so far.
Staying one step ahead is the key to survival out in the African wild. And now you can stay in front of the pack with a Wild Earth weekly newsletter. Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer and you will get exclusive behind-the-scenes stories about your favorite guides and camera operators. Information about our upcoming plans and projects will be delivered to your inbox every week before anyone else. And you can hone your guiding skills by taking part in our Identify Me nature quizzes. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
I got into wildlife filmmaking because of a passion for nature and a notion that I could make a difference. Helping others fall in love with nature brings meaning to what I do. It's also a lot of fun. A couple of times per week, we receive some very heartfelt messages from viewers telling us about how Wild Earth has made a difference in their life, whether it's helped them through a difficult period or simply helped them to reconnect with nature. I think that's why we do what we do.
You are cheeky. That was a brave decision. Amber Eyes is... Oh. That is so magic. That was absolutely wonderful. Amber Eyes just gave that cub an enormous hug.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth.
Hello everybody, well welcome back. How cool were those white-tailed mongoose? It's been ages since I've seen white-tailed mongoose. Been a while. I asked Dave when last you seen one, he's like 2 nights ago. I was like, oh, okay, thanks Darby. With Lauren. Well, clearly, unless you're out on your own. Sorry boys, these impala males are going to cross the road in front of us. Maybe they're not. They got a bit startled. I can hear them moving. Just on the right of that tree, maybe. Okay, so the male impala on our left is calling and roaring. Can't see him. But we had 2 boys come charging up over here. on the right. So just move forward. Rita, I don't know the exact reason for the colours, but just over my shoulder here, Darby. But definitely the different light that we have. So, for example, impala eyes, you don't see the different eye shine now at night with the IR. You just see a reflection. But the eyes all shine with a slightly different color and a different intensity depending on that filament that they have on the eye. And how exactly that works, I don't really know. But, for example, when there's a full moon or no moon, impala have a completely different eye color. It is new moon today. By the way, everybody, happy new moon. Goodness me. So, why they shine the color they do is hard for me to say. The reason they shine is to be able to absorb as much light as possible. But why that gives off a color and why that color is different depending on different days, I couldn't tell you. Testing for this little area. They love to do that, to pretend that there's a predator. See, what's that? Remember, everybody, they're in complete darkness right now. They can't actually see each other very well. To fight at this time is actually quite dangerous. Kelly, impala's alarm call whenever they see danger. But these males going through the rutting season are pretty much through their rut, alarm calling all the time. It's a non-stop affair. Part of their distraction display, I suppose. It also helps to get attention. The more noise you can make, the more maybe the females will look. But also the alarm call causes your counterpart to want to look at the danger. And it's kind of like trying to see, impalas can walk backwards. And if your counterpart looks the other way, you can maybe sneak in a blow to his side. Of course, it's behind the bush. The only bush in the area. You hear that power. Whenever they do kill each other, that physicality, there you go. As soon as the one runs, he feels he's been outplayed and they turn and run, and if he is not on the right foot, the other one will actually keep up with him. And it's not uncommon to find them plunging a horn into the fleeing impala's rib cage or lungs, stomach. And many impala die that way, not immediately, depending on the entry wound of the horn, but it can lead to them dying quite soon afterwards. When they stand face to face and they fight, those horns lock beautifully together. But as soon as one feels he's not as strong as the other and he tries to leave, the other one can kill him. First of all, to be in this situation, you've got to have stood up for yourself, you've got to have called, you've got to have challenged, you've got to have really, really put yourself out there. And then, yes, of course, it's not always a fight to the death, but there is potential to get killed in this fight, and that is for mating rights. Okay, well, our Impala boys are going to go off into the bushes. We're going to carry on down the road, see what else we can find for you. Lisa, well, the rut is starting, so it's going to go from the end of this month. So the next full moon that we have, probably the next full moon into the next full moon. So it pretty much works on from the last full moon in April to the last full moon in May. It's pretty much a full moon cycle that the females are in complete estrus. Up until then, these males are going to be competing heavily for mating rights, and that can continue for months afterwards, because some of the males don't really even realize that the mating's happened. They still continue to compete, even though all the matings happen and majority of the females have actually been impregnated. So it's a very short period of time. It's now towards the end of summer when the males are all in peak physical condition. They've been eating well, they've been competing, they've been thrashing bushes, they've been challenging each other. Many of them have been staying in bachelor herds to keep their fitness up, waiting for the next week or so, 2 weeks, to really step forward. Oh, is that a buffalo? Yes, it is a buffalo. Or was it an elephant? I think it's a buffalo. I think we might have found our lone buffalo bull that's always floating around. Let's see if he's as grumpy as the one we saw the other day. It's just here on the left-hand side. Let me move up an inch. We've got all the lights off. He's not a very happy chappy. He's got poo all over his bottom. Old grumpy buffalo bull. Off he goes into the thickets. These are the fellows that you have the potential to bump into on walking safari. Is that be on your toes? Holding thumbs now for a honey badger. I actually got some information back from Dr. Owen and Judy H about holding thumbs, which I'll address in the next segment. But in the meantime, I think I'm going to send you back to Lauren.
We've managed to catch up with the elephants. We're not going to go any closer than this because it's night time, and they are in the thicket. Sadly, it was just the cubs at the hyena den, and this is what we're facing on a daily basis now. We get there, it's active, but sadly no adults. So we've came back to the elephants. They're not as sleepless as giraffes, but they are also quite sleepless animals. Their sleep is broken up throughout the day and night. You can find the elephants moving at any time during the night. This is another reason that sort of tells you they're not primarily relying on eyesight. Not only are their eyes absolutely tiny in comparison to their skull, they move at night time and they've not got the best nocturnal vision. They can't see, but they're relying on so many other senses, and vision is definitely not the most important one. They're rather large animals. So they either chase the threat. There's a predator coming close, they'll just charge and trumpet. Something like that. Or they'll build a fortress. The calves, especially when they're very young, rarely leave mom's side. I mean, a meter or two away from mom is far too far when they're very, very young. You'll just find they try to stay as close as possible. And the moment any individual in the herd picks up on a threat, be it auditory, olfactory, visual, they'll react, they'll communicate, they'll inform one another, and they'll react accordingly. So sometimes the Masai Mara, I think it was maybe Brent or Scott, that had an incredible sighting with the elephants building a wall and just charging. I think it was at rhino. They would do the same for lions. Or they're going to keep their calves in the middle and form a sort of circle around them. Lions are not going to attack a calf if there's lots of adults around. They're fiercely protective over their young. They rarely let their young out of sight. Once a young starts to get to about sort of 5 years old, they'll sort of get a little bit braver, move a little bit further away, but they'll always be in close proximity to an adult. I'm hoping for some nocturnal creatures. I want to get lucky with a genet tonight. There's something really lovely about watching an elephant feeding at night time. Oh, yes. I know. I was just a little... Have you seen me? Do you know I'm here? Do you know that I'm bigger than you? And yes, we know all of those things. I don't particularly find a difference. I can't honestly, personally say that I see any difference between day and night. I really don't. I mean, this herd is very relaxed. They're all around us. And like I mentioned, they're really not visual animals. Yes, they can see. Yes, they've got eyes, but that's not their primary sense. And the vegetation is still just so thick right now. It's still so lush that I'm really not finding. I haven't encountered any sort of stressed herds or herds that are a little bit upset. I mean, that head shake was really, there was nothing behind it. This is a small elephant as well. I think it's like a teenager. And yeah, I don't notice a difference, Mike, between day and night in my experience with elephants. I've noticed a difference in season. I definitely see a change in their behavior in season, but definitely not time of day. So we're going to watch this elephant a little bit longer. Hopefully then we can get on our mission to start looking for some nocturnal creatures.
Nestled on the banks of one of the largest lakes in the Sabi Sands lies an award-winning game lodge called Chitwa Chitwa. Many of you will have been on safari here virtually with Wild Earth, but now we are offering you the chance to see it for yourself in person. Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer before the end of April, and you and a friend could win 3 nights to this luxury lodge. In addition to the unforgettable safaris, you can unwind on the deck, relax in the pool, and even savor the various bush dining experiences. Chitwa's holistic approach to hospitality, with specific emphasis on conservation, will leave you with the very best memories of the African wild. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Graham, I'm just going to see, there's a very good place that I want to see if we can get good signal from there. That's where I'd like to go.
Welcome to dawn in the African bush.
How cool is this? Can you believe it?
Those cubs are now only 10 feet from us. Unbelievable.
Elephants chasing wild dogs chasing elephants. Pandemonium!
Watching how Wild Earth has grown since 2007 has been truly remarkable. On the 27th of April this year, Wild Earth will be turning 14, and we would love to hear from you. Please send us your own special birthday message, which we can share with the rest of the Wild Earth family. Maybe you can tell us why you started watching Wild Earth, what Wild Earth means to you, or you could just send us a very happy birthday. Don't forget, when you want to film yourself, to hold your phone sideways to get the best angle. When you are ready, you can email your videos through to birthday@wildearth.tv.
Hi, my name is Tristan Dix, and I am a guide here at Djuma Private Game Reserve for Wild Earth. We love connecting you to the African bush, and we always look forward to all of your questions. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on Wild Earth.
Now the elephants have moved off, but I'm just being extremely cautious because I can still hear them. Yeah, I can see one grey bottom. I can see more grey bottoms. Fabulous. There you go, Morgan. There's your first grey one. So they're still all around us. And it's actually quite eerie because if Morgan, are you able to just turn that IR light off? Yeah. And you're going to be able to see what we can see right now without the infrared. There we go. Isn't that beautiful? That's all we can see. So it's quite eerie. I rely on my monitor, and of course Morgan relies on the infrared, which is an incredible tool. But you can hear them. You can hear that there's elephants all around the car, and it can be quite eerie. The last thing you want is to run the corner and to drive straight into an elephant herd. Elephants normally start to develop their sort of tusks at around 2 years old. I wonder if we've just lost visual. Let me get my spotlight just for safety. But they do have milk tusks, just like we have milk teeth or baby teeth, whatever you want to call them, when we are younger, which we of course lose to the tooth fairy. She takes them all. I don't actually know what the tooth fairy does with these teeth, but she takes them in exchange for money. Here we go, we've got another one. And elephants also have milk tusks, which they lose, and then the adult tusks start to grow at around 2 years old. But it's almost like the inverse iceberg effect. So a third of the tusk is actually hidden inside the elephant's face. It really starts under the eye socket and sort of protrudes from there. It's only the visible part that we can obviously see, and that's said to be about 2/3. So it takes a while for the tusk to grow enough to protrude outside of the face, outside of the mouth, and that's obviously when we see it. So it's normally around 2 years old. Melissa, I'm laughing at your question, not because it's a silly question, it's fantastic, but just very recently, Melissa, I had to get my wisdom tooth taken out, and I went live with a very swollen face, and I decided that I was going to keep my wisdom tooth to show you all, because it was huge, and I thought, this is how much wisdom I've got. And the monkey stole it, Melissa. Did you know the story, Morgan? He's laughing. The monkey stole my wisdom tooth. I don't know what they want from my wisdom tooth, but it belongs to the vervet monkeys now. So anyway, that's why I'm chuckling, Melissa. It's not a silly question at all. They actually don't. They're very specific. There's one there, but I don't think we have the best visuals, I'm afraid. They have 6 sets of molars, and they don't come in at once like ours do. We sort of get our adult teeth around about the same time, give or take. And then we live with the full set of adult teeth. It doesn't work like that for elephants. It's almost like a conveyor belt of molar teeth. And the molar one normally pops in at around, this is not tusks, but tusks are just teeth at the end of the day. An elephant's tusk is really just an elongated incisor. And you also have an incisor. So it's just sort of modified and developed into a tusk. But other than the tusks, they have 6 molars. And molar 1 comes in at 1 year old. Molar 2 comes in at 6. Molar 2 comes in at 2. Molar 3 comes in at 6. Molar 4 comes in at 15. Molar 5 comes in at 28. And molar 6 comes in at 47. And once those molars wear down, that's normally the cause of death within elephants. So they don't have wisdom tusks, I'm afraid. And they wouldn't want them. Wisdom teeth, my goodness. Ugh. I had 3. I've had them all removed, and none of them were pleasant experiences, to say the least. Oh, I've got more up here. Okay, I'm just going to put my lights on so that, just for safety. And then, of course, once we get closer to the animals, we will naturally turn the lights off. But some people don't have wisdom teeth anymore. I mean, they really are evolving out in the human race. Some people have none. Lucky people. Some people have room for them. So some people, the wisdom tooth comes through and there's enough space, so there's no pain. That was not the case for me. Okay, we've got a real youngster up ahead. There we go. Let's see if we can get a view from here. I don't want to get too close, not in the dark. Elsa, can you repeat that name? I got the question. Just not doing too well with the names tonight. Maybe a little spelling would help there. But no, of course, it depends on the context. So I personally drive a lot slower at nighttime. And just because you really don't know what's around the corner, I'm always really cautious of my lights, especially when we drive past Impala. I know it sounds silly, but you don't want to blind these animals. And you've just got to be hyper aware. You've got to be very, very familiar with your surroundings. I'm just going to move forward, Morgan. Listen, look, smell. We can hear one to the side of us. I don't know if we'll be able to see it. So yes, you do have to be careful, but it's not necessarily dangerous. We do a lot of night bumbles here as well. You just have to be very, very aware of your surroundings. Because, oh, you were right, Morgan, it's right there. You literally don't know what's around the corner. And I mean, it's not your lions and your leopards that you're scared of at nighttime, really. It's other organisms like your elephants, if you round a corner too fast into a herd of elephants, or hippos. Hippos leave the dams at nighttime. They go foraging. They're, of course, a dangerous animal to encounter. So you've just got to be very aware that the environment's changed. The sun's now gone down. It's a time of the nocturnal animals. But dangerous, no. Avro, yes, absolutely. I've seen males do it. I've seen young bulls do it. I've seen gentlemen do it. And I've absolutely seen females do it. So, yes. Youngsters, not so much. But I do feel, and this is solely based on my opinion, not on any sort of scientific evidence, but from what I see out here, I do feel the boys, especially the younger ones, they do just tend to do it for fun. There seems to be no goal to pushing over the tree. Whereas the adults, the fully grown cows and the fully grown bulls, I do see that they tend to push over trees to really get the nutrients, to really sort of either get to the cambium layer or any of the delicious foliage that they can't reach. But that's just my observations. Maybe it's really fun to push over trees. I don't quite know where this herd is moving off to. I'm just going to scan around to see if we have any more around us. They're all up ahead. Let's go closer. Okay, I'm going to try and get a little bit closer to this herd. If they disappear into the thicket, then we will let them be. But for now, we're going to send you across to Steve.
Welcome back, everyone. We're just here checking the western boundary. I promised I'd come back to you with some information about holding thumbs, and now I was given some info. I just want to double check it though. Obviously everybody knows about crossing fingers and for good luck, but holding thumbs comes from a very old, many of the people in Europe, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Holland, all still hold thumbs today. And it comes from sort of a time when holding thumbs was to say was a very old way of expressing protection against evil powers. So to hold your thumbs is about evil powers. And it's not about good luck at all. It's kind of sort of moved into that realm now. It was used back in 1st century as well, as a way of sort of keeping the evil powers at bay. Very, very interesting how it's come all the way back into this sort of time frame. And just check yourself wherever you come from at the moment. Do you use such a phrase? I mean, we say the words in South Africa as well, crossing fingers. I don't say it as much as I do say holding thumbs. I don't even know where my mom taught it to me. Was it at school? Who knows how these phrases come about from a very long time ago. We all kind of have an idea. We'll say, oh, I'm holding thumbs that you're going to find something, but actually it comes from a time when it's trying to keep us free of evil spirits. So, I really do enjoy these old, a lot of where these old hand gestures come from, we won't get into now, but lots and lots of history that we have around the world that comes from a very long time ago that we still hold on to. Coming to the junction. Alexandra, the funniest animal. Elephants are always funny. The young elephants, always very funny. They're just always up to so much. But the hardest I think I've laughed was when an elephant, sub-adult, teenager, was rubbing itself on a termite mound and it completely flipped over and fell down the other side. I saw it happening and I quickly told Seb to move, and he got the camera around in time to see it happen. It was very quick. As you can imagine, the elephant was rubbing its back and the legs tipped over and it went, oh. Oh, goodness. I don't think I've laughed that hard before in my life. Well, maybe I have, but that was about as hard as I've laughed at an animal. So elephants always make me laugh. They're always up to something. And when an elephant calf comes charging out to the herd, ears out, and then suddenly realizes it's on its own, it turns around and runs back in sheepishly. Lots of humor there. Lots of humor. David, do you have a particular funny animal? Seals. Yep. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Let's hear a story about your seals. This is recently then, when you're in Namibia. Yeah? Very funny animals to watch. Okay. They are indeed. They're very agile in the water. On land, they're more agile than people give them credit for. And they've got very, very sharp teeth. So we've got to steer clear of petting them. So that was a Cape fur seal, I'm guessing. Yep. Yeah. Lots of seals around the Cape. Lots of great white sharks. Danny, I have scuba dived. I actually got my license in Australia. I was working on a dive and sailboat in Australia. It's a very long time ago now, 2003. I haven't, I dived a bit then, a lot then actually, and then I dived a bit in New Zealand. I haven't dived since 2005. It's a long time ago. 2004, sorry, it was in Australia. 2004, in the Whitsunday Islands, the Little Barrier Reef. So not the Great Barrier Reef, but the Little Barrier Reef. Beautiful blue, crystal blue waters, white sand. Gorgeous part of the world. Warm, very, very warm. But Portuguese man of war out there, the stingers they call them. Potentially fatal. never saw one. I think they make a lot of money out of the idea of the stingers. Everybody has to wear these suits and have to rent the suits, and because if you get stung by one, apparently it's a very quick anaphylactic shock, and nobody wants that for a little pleasurable scuba dive. Yeah, they would say that it was a magical place. Beautiful. Never got very deep though. 12 meters, maybe 15. But Lauren certainly scuba dived once or twice, I have no doubt. I'm going to send you back up to...
Our elephants went into the thicket, so we really are now on our search for something nocturnal. My list is long, so let's see what we can deliver. Now, funny animal moments, my goodness, I don't even know where I begin. Animals make me chuckle on a daily basis. They really, really do. And today, it was rather unfortunate. Morgan and I were sitting with a beautiful herd of elephants at Buffelshoek Dam, which we showed you, but we'd actually been with them quite a while and had no signal. However, one of the youngsters clearly had an itchy bottom, so decided to sit down, and I mean literally sit down as if a human would sit down on its sort of back legs and rock back and forth to itch one's bottom, as you do, and right next to the car, under half a meter away from the car. And as it was doing it, it was swinging its trunk from side to side. We have a video. Morgan took it, but I am going to put it on Instagram, and you will enjoy it much, I can assure you. And recently, we also had Ntima's son vocalizing, and I think it was one of the first times he'd vocalized, and it was, of course, a ooh, but he didn't seem to realize it was coming from himself, and he was giving himself a fright and looking around as if to say, where's that noise coming from? And then it came again, and where's that noise coming from? And he ended up reversing himself back into the den out of fear of this noise that was in fact coming from himself. Oh dear, animals. My beagle makes me laugh also, especially when she has gas and it's released from the body with a certain sound, and she looks at you like this as if to say, why did you wake me up with that awful noise? And you say, Poppy darling, it was you. And she will not believe you. She's convinced it was someone in the room. But yes, animals make me laugh on the daily. It is just so wonderful to be able to witness their behavior, even underwater. Underwater, the animals can make me chuckle too. You also have your scary moments, but most of them you really can laugh. I remember I had my underwater camera, and I've got a really special housing, of course, because, well, cameras don't work underwater really, and a very special lens. It's a fisheye lens, and I've been getting to know this octopus. Yes, I know it sounds very octopus teacher-ish, but I'd been making a relationship with an octopus, which sounds strange, and every time I was working on my coral rehabilitation project, this octopus would come and watch me and pop his head out and watch me, and slowly but surely we were starting to get to know one another. So I decided I'm going to turn my camera on, hit record, leave it next to the octopus and just see what happens and swim away. I mean, the water depth was about 3 meters, so I wasn't really worried about losing the camera. And I came back about 15 minutes later, and the octopus had my camera and was moving across the coral reef, and I thought, oh no, how am I going to get this back? And I eventually got it back, went to look at the footage, and I've got the most incredible video of an octopus looking at the camera, and then looking at the camera, and then touching it with one tentacle, and then touching it with the other, then pushing buttons, and then just deciding, I'm going to take this. This is a very good piece of equipment, and just taking the whole camera and walking along the reef with it. And I've got that whole video. So yes, even animals underwater make you chuckle. Okay, I think we are surrounded by impala. I'm now plunged into darkness, but Morgan's going to go into infrared. and hopefully we'll be able to see them. Hello, impala. You're all very huddled together in this side of quarantine. Why is that? Another moment that made me laugh was Swazi. I mean, Swazi has produced a lot of chuckles over the years, and I don't quite know what he was trying to achieve. He's obviously a young sub-adult male, and he's definitely a male. He's been checked by the vet. And he obviously spends a lot of time watching the adult females at the den, and mammals do learn a lot through observation. So he sees the females sitting in the dentrance, and obviously suckling, or the youngs are suckling, and he decided to try and do that one day. So he put himself in the dentrance, and he was rolling and pulling and doing whatever, and he was trying to push the little cubs down to his lower abdomen to copy exactly what the females do. And of course, he's a male. That was not going to work. He's also not a mother and hasn't given birth to any offspring. But that was a rather entertaining drive, watching Swazi do that. The cubs, of course, just view him as some goofy big uncle. See, they're all on very high alert. It's just got dark. And impalas intrinsically know this is the time of the predators. It was interesting watching a Talamatis hunt the other night. Again, we put the video on Instagram. The impala's alarm called, and immediately the Talamatis took one down, and it was over very quickly. But it was really fascinating not watching the kill, but actually watching the other impalas in the vicinity. They were all alert, alarm calling, staring at the threat, which was the Talamati pride. But then, once they had killed an impala and they were all eating, everybody relaxed. And the rest of the impala just started grazing and started eating. And when an impala is eating, it's relaxed. And this was happening about maybe 15 meters away from the Talamati pride eating one of their herd members. It was really, really fascinating to watch that. There was obviously some innate understanding the kill had been made. It wasn't me. I survived. Herd life is selfish life. There's a fantastic chapter I'm reading in one of my books about buffalo and the life of a herd. It's not social, it's selfish. You're trying to dilute your presence so you are not the one plucked off by the predator. And that must have been what was happening the other night. The impalas just realized, okay, lions are here. We know they're there, but they're eating. We can hear them eating. It wasn't me. Life goes on. They didn't run. They didn't alter their behavior. Really fascinating. Doug, you are asking, do impalas ever something? One more time, Elton. Sleep. Yes, they absolutely do rest. They will rest during the day a lot as well. You'll see impalas just taking some winks in the shade, and at night time also. You can see a lot of them are lying down. They've sort of gravitated towards one another. Safer in larger numbers, is safer in bigger herds. If there's two of you, well, if a predator comes, it's either going to be you or the other one. But if there's 50 of you, got a 1 in a 50 chance that it's going to be you, and a lot more eyes and ears and nostrils to the ground. So what you'll find, especially on quarantine, all the impalas sort of gravitate towards one another, and you'll see some of them rest. Some of them are alert and then they all take turns, but they absolutely do sleep. They have to, otherwise they would be zompalas. Zombie impalas. Ah, the male. There's a ram. Did you see them all scatter? This must be his herd. His temporary harem. Oliver, you're asking, can different animals communicate with one another? I'll ask Elton for a little bit more of an explanation on that question. So, Oliver, what you've got to sort of understand, anything you're thinking about in the wilds, be it in the mountains, in the desert, in the bush, under the water, is why. That's your biggest question. So if you have different species, there really would be no need to communicate with one another. It's all about your own selfish, innate drive to reproduce and have your bloodline. And of course, species are going to stick together, of course, like a herd of impala. There really wouldn't be a need for impala to communicate with Inyala, or Inyala to communicate with zebra, or a zebra to have a fat chat with a lion. But there's a level of understanding. So with an impala alarm call, other species recognize that as alarm. So it's not that they're really communicating together towards one another, but other species can recognize other vocalizations. So a vervet monkey alarm call will be picked up by various different antelopes in the area and even baboons. An impala alarm call will be picked up by the other antelopes and even the monkeys. But that's not necessarily, I guess, direct communication. So the only sort of communications that impala will have is intra-specific, meaning it's only for that species. When they alarm call, they're not really trying to let everybody know that there's a predator in the vicinity. They're really just alarm calling for everyone in the herd. But learned by association, other species have picked up on that. The only sort of communication that would be for other species is visual. So, for example, aposematic coloration, I guess, as visual cues. Hey, I'm toxic, or I'm not palatable, don't eat me. They're trying to communicate to predators of different species not to eat them. No species will waste any energy or any time on something that doesn't give them any sort of greater fitness benefits. It's all about looking after oneself. They really don't want to spend much time with this male, do they? Did you see what he's doing? He's constantly keeping them herded together. Sheepdog herding. The minute he stops paying attention to the ladies, another male can come in, another male can intercept. Okay, I am going to leave these impala to see if I can find any last-minute nocturnal creatures.
On the 27th of April, Wild Earth will be turning 14 years old, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you. And to celebrate, we will be finishing the beautiful book that we started last year that looks at the history so far. But we do need you to be part of it. Please submit your most memorable sighting, or what Wild Earth means to you, or even just your name and a comment to be included inside the book. Head over to the website to add your name and reserve your copy. And a big thank you to all of you who have contributed to the book so far.
With a slew of potential dangers lurking, it's essential to be aware of your surroundings whilst walking in the wilderness.
20 yards away from one of the most endangered species. This is a big bull.
What a moment, what a close encounter with an Ellie bull. He's just over here now. He's moved completely away.
Being on a bushwalk and seeing a leopard, I mean, it's ridiculous to be this close to a leopard on foot and for him not to run is absolutely insane. How crazy was that?
Through the gap there is just the back of the head of a male lion. He is absolutely unaware that we are here right now. I'll tell you, seeing lions on foot, it definitely brings out the caveman in you, this little scared human being.
I'm Nikki here at Ambion Ngala in South Africa. I love getting questions from viewers about all the small things within the environment and how it all is integrated with one another. If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the Wild Earth website, head across to the Live Safari page and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next Wild Earth drive.
So far, no luck with any of the nocturnal animals, but I am trying. Quarantine's a really good place, especially since it's had a little haircut or a little gardening. It makes it easier to see the nocturnal animals. This is exactly where we had the genet the other night. So I'm just going to drive really slowly and keep trying. Dana, you're asking if I was a guest, where in Africa would I want to visit? Wow, what a question. Are you ready? I would love to go back to the Masai Mara. I worked there with Wild Earth for 3 months and had the most incredible time, and I got to share with all of you. And I would really love to go back there. I'd love to see the North Clan. I'd love to see Busara. I'd love to see the Sausage Tree Pride. That's definitely on the list. Another item on my bucket list, it's a long list, is the Cobb migration in South Sudan. So from, I see eyeshine, I have no idea what it is. Could be an impala? Is it impala? Or maybe it's a wildebeest. I actually can't see, but it's definitely not a nocturnal animal. And yes, there's a migration that's said to rival and equal, possibly even be greater, but they're not sure, than the wildebeest migration from the Serengeti to the Masai Mara, which of course happens annually and is definitely the most famous one. But the Cobb migration, the white-eared Cobb and the Tiang antelopes, if you've never heard of them, Google them. They're adorable. They also make a huge migration from the sort of Gambela area of Ethiopia to the Sud wetlands in South Sudan. And the reason this is not famous, and the reason sort of scientists and conservationists maybe don't know too much about that, is due to the fact that it's been a war-torn country. There's been a lot of bloodshed. There's been a lot of civil unrest year after year after year. And it was thought after the last war that this migration maybe isn't taking place anymore, because a lot of the sort of locals, indigenous people, were killing the antelope for bushmeat. And therefore, no one really knew, no, is this migration still happening or not? And then a group of scientists went out, or maybe it was conservationists, I can't remember, and they discovered this is still happening. The cobs are still migrating in millions and millions. So even although the wildebeest migration of the Masai Mara sort of holds the title for the greatest migration in Africa, it's not necessarily the case. You should Google it, it's fascinating, and I would love to watch the cob migration, but unfortunately it doesn't really run as a ground operation, because it's the wetlands, it's marshland, it's impossible to drive. I mean, we get stuck in Djuma. I was a tad stuck last night, but I got unstuck. Imagine driving in wetlands, it's not possible, so therefore they do a lot of that from helicopter. A lot of it is aerial surveys and sort of aerial viewing, so that's obviously not ideal, but it would still be a dream to go and see that. I'd love to go back to Namibia. Darby and I just returned from the Skeleton Coast. It was phenomenal, but I didn't see nearly as much as a country as I would love to. I'm trying to think. I'd love to see the forest elephants in the Central African Republic. Africa has so much to offer. I'd love to go to the Congo. I hope that answers your question. Africa really is the most incredible continent. I am now trying for a last-minute chameleon. I was on a roll for a while, finding chameleon. Tonight, that's not going to plan. I still have around 70 seconds, everybody. But what a day. And of course, Batelier Chick for me. It's been a really good day. Unfortunately, I have to go stationary, which is really going to interrupt my chameleon search. Maybe Morgan can give you a beautiful view of the trees in infrared. Would you look at that? Wonderful, Morgan. That is just incredible. But seriously, everyone, thank you so much for jumping on board. We really appreciate you having you here every single step of the way, for all your creative questions, all your inquisitive questions, and of course, all your comments. We couldn't really do it without you, I guess. But we will be...